Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Game 2 between Boom and Boss. Boss taking the first game in a fairly commanding fashion, but Boom gonna see if they can't come back and take this Game 2 and make it a 3-game series. Boss aiming to make this a 2-0 to cement their way into the next stage of this Alienware Awesome Cup Championship Day 1 of this weekend. So, should be a good time.
Yeah, it should. And, coming into game number 2, I wouldn't be too surprised to see a few more reactive bans coming out of that. As I said, a lot of those look like targets, but at the same time, you combo anything with a penny, that vulnerability comes up. You combo anything with a gnaw with a spit, that vulnerability comes up, usually down the line. But either way, vulnerability with big high burst means that your hit points disappear very quickly. So,
Penny ban?
So I'm curious to see what exactly is going to be in terms of our target bans, but I do hear that the actual draft is done, so let's take a quick look at what game number 2 is going to consist of.
So, predictably, we can see a couple of things coming up right out of the gate, but let's see what happens. Boom! Banning out Coco. Boss being the ones to ban out Penny, despite how well they did with it, but they ban out Penny regardless. Boom then picks up Scoop. Boss, in retaliation, picks up Ted and Scree. Boom, seeing that, picks up Frog and then bans Gnaw. Boss picks off Skoldir. Boom picks up Raylan to finish off their team, and Boss finishing off their team with a Clunk. And this is on Ribbit 4. These are really interesting pickups, all things considered. The Gnaw ban makes a lot more sense considering it's Ribbit 4. They don't want to have to deal with those weedlings within that area. They know that Boss, if they decide to pick Gnaw, could definitely make good use of it. However, all the rest of the bans make a lot of sense just because. Coco continuously banned out a lot of the time. Penny, always one of the first picks or one of the upper end bans, ends up happening a lot of the time. She's a very strong character right now. Skoldir makes a lot of sense as well. They don't want to have to deal with the jump up throw initiation. Instead, Boom gonna have to deal with the jump up explode initiation coming out of Boss's Clunk. They're also going to have to deal with a lot of the push and zoning that Ted McPain and Scree have to offer. On the other hand, Boom has access to Hammer, Snipe, and Dash. That's a lot of potential burst that Boss is going to have to deal with. That could be potentially painful for the Scree, but it will be especially painful for the Ted, who has a very difficult time moving at all. So this is going to be a classic lineup between lots of burst on Boom, whereas Boss has more of the durability and zoning to try to keep somebody like Frog or Scoop away from their front lines, and they're just going to be a little bit more methodical and push out with the Ted as much as possible instead. What do you feel about the Gnaw ban in particular? It makes sense considering it's Ribbit, but at the same time, Gnaw, one of those characters that whenever we see him has a difficult time continuing to be a factor in these longer games. And even if it's on Ribbit 4, every time we've seen a Gnaw, it's just been powerful early and then drops off steeply later into the game.
The typical, I think what you're trying to get to is that we didn't actually see Gnaw ever win in any of the qualifiers.
I can't say that.
Anything that we casted, we didn't see a Gnaw win.
Yeah,
which is unfortunate. It kind of gives him a little bit of a bad stigma. But Ribbit 4 is definitely a map that does play to a lot of his strengths. So the jungle in the middle, the drip spits, the Weedling just pressure. We saw a really good sieging Gnaw in one of our qualifiers that just absolutely destroyed an entire lane. It's just like you could not push past middle whatsoever with it. So there are big dangers with the Gnaw here. And again, Gnaw does have the same kind of functionality as a Penny with the Amplify. And you catch somebody out with a slow and an Amplify, well, you're probably going to get just collapsed upon and destroyed. So banning him out, sure, it is a waste of a slot, so to speak, but it's also a use of a slot because it really depends on who you're playing against as well.
It also opens up for other picks. We've seen Raylan banned before in the past, and with this set up the way that it is currently, they managed to end up picking up Raylan instead. So we'll see how that Time Rift ends up working out. It's going to be a very powerful ability against the Clunk and the Ted in particular, who are big, chunky characters. They can't really run out of that very easily, if at all. So yeah, why don't we go ahead and see how these picks and bans line up in this second game of this best of 3. Boom with Raylan, Frog, and Scoop. Boss with Clunk, Scree, and Ted. This is going to be exciting. We'll see how this turns out.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, with the Ribbit, it really does come down to who you're playing against. Remember last time, we had a Raylan ban. Check out what Kaio has.
Yeah, well, he's currently sitting on that Raylan. Frog being played by, I'm guessing, Blah, as per the usual.
And that was also a ban last round.
Indeed. Paolo being picked up, playing the Scoop for the red team. On the blue team, Kirby Derby being pushed off with that Ted. You got the Clunk being played by Cannoli, a very good Clunk player, and Bad Joe playing Scree. We've seen him play this as well. He did a really good job of using Scree to be a very offensive, very annoying character to have to deal with. We're probably going to expect to see more of the same. 1 minute into this game, no kill yet. Ted picking up range on the machine gun and airstrike. Scree, base abilities, Clunk, base abilities, and that's for Team Boss. Team Boom, sporting Snipe Piggy Bank into Snipe damage, and now range on Kaio, and base abilities on both the Frog and the Scoop. So only one Piggy Bank, only one solar accelerant in this game so far, but we'll see if any more come out later on in the game. Cannoli doing an explode is going to hit Kaio. Kaio going to get off that snipe as well, but at what cost? So far, not her life, thankfully for her. Paolo going to take some damage as well, and he's just going to back off for now and play it safe. But a little bit of turret damage coming out. Boss coming out on top of these small, minor engagements, but not by a lot, not yet.
Not yet, but you know, at what cost is kind of what you were saying. Just like, wow, they traded out some hit points, and the hit point trade did again go towards Boss. Kirby Derb down here with the machine gun is already starting to take chunks out of this turret, like 3, 4, 5 bars of hit points already gone at 1 minute and 48 in. Now Cannoli, he was trying to do a little bit there with that explode, but might not be the explode, but they will get the 1, the 2 combo. Kaio did actually get off a snipe on the end of all that, but it was not near enough, did not hit the curb, and it actually, I don't even think it hit the Cannoli. And you know, he tried to aim right down through the mid, which is usually a good idea, but again, jump play is going to be huge, not only for the rain-in, but for Cannoli.
What really helped out there was that Boss has 2 big characters. One of them kind of came up on one side and stopped the 2 members, Blah and Paolo, from really escaping. And then Bad Joe came in with a Saw Blade. That Saw Blade does a decent amount of damage at the beginning, 200 when it slices through you either way, and then it does a bunch of damage if you're stuck in it. And they were stuck in it for a good 3 seconds. That had to hurt. So that's going to net them the first 2 kills of the game. Boss currently leading 2-0 as a result. 2 minutes, 40 seconds into this game. And in return, we can see that Team Boom, they're going to try to get some sort of lead again out of it. Explode going to come out. Kaio going to end up going down. And that's right after the rest of her team bought a piggy bank. That's not exactly what you want. Paolo going to escape from that. And now Team Boss rolling in with 3 kills 3 minutes into this game.
Something that we do have on the advantage here, again, with Boss, not only are they getting these kills, but you leave them alone, they're going to take down a turret. But Blah showing you why he was a banned-out frog last round. He is actually able to pick up that return kill on top of the screen, put his team on the board. Nice dash into curb dirt here as well, but the stun is not going to be enough. I take it back. Blah through the tower, able to pick up that one with the help there of Paulo. And looks like Paulo's going to live to see another day as well. That puts him now 2 points on the board.
Yep, so showing signs of life and very vibrant ones at that. They're going to be able to take those 2 kills. The solar now in their favor, which we would expect. They all picked up Piggy Bank. Exactly. So it's good to see that their Piggy Banks coming to use. Blah making extremely good use of his Tornado's damage range to be able to hit a little bit past the edge of the tower there to be able to pick up that kill just barely. So
it's a little deceptive for newer players, but yes, it will reach.
Yeah, so they definitely needed that too in order to stay in this game. Had they died a couple more times, it would have been very difficult for them to come back. But they managed, and now Boss currently sitting with a couple of new upgrades since they had to go back home. Bad Joe picking up Saw Blade damage. You've got Ted picking up machine gun damage and shotgun damage, and then you've got Clunk who's picked up the damage on Explode. So lots of burst, lots of just damage coming out. That's what they're building into first. That's the name of the game. They're aiming to make this early game as difficult as possible and try to take these fights without needing Piggy Bank. And if they can do that, that means they can cement the late game as well, as long as the Raylan doesn't manage to take off too much.
And if she doesn't, and they can't actually put up their big map pressure, the original point before all that was that, Kirby can push down towers by himself with machine gun from the safety. Clunk with the auto attacks. We saw that in a previous game. They absolutely take apart towers once you start upgrading them. You get the bigger bullets, you get the double bullets, and you trade out hit points for tower damage. Well, guess what? You respawn, towers don't. So any kind of big slip-ups here from Boom, and they're going to find themselves without these rank 1 towers. And that is really starting to become more and more evident, as you don't even need to get a kill at this point. If there's droids leading the way, Boss will be behind them, and they are slowly taking down these turrets for free.
Yeah, and if they take down these turrets, that gives them more access to the jungle and makes it a little bit harder for the red team to even move around at all. And it also gives Blue an opportunity at those solar bosses. We've mentioned them before. That's a lot of solar to be had there if you can manage to take them out on a fairly frequent basis.
This guy.
Yeah, that guy right there, the big tubby one. And it's really easy for somebody like Ted.
The devil.
Yeah, right there. Somebody like Ted can easily take them out. His machine gun, very powerful against it if you jump around. Bad Joe's Saw Blade, same deal, along with his left click. And Cannoli can always support with a big explode here and there. So they do have the ability to take out those solar bosses and cement their solar game, which now is on par with the triple piggy banking Team Boom. So this is not looking good for Boom right now, but they still have a chance. They've got Time Rift now coming out on Raylan and Double Hammer Pants coming out on Blaz Frog as well. So they're aiming still for that burst and for that zone control on the Raylan.
Yep, and earlier, I mean, we did see the signs of life. They did get that return double kill, so I wouldn't call it over yet. Boom definitely has a lot of room here to come back and take control of this map, but in terms of just the generalized pushing scenario, you know, it is very heavily favored in top of the boss. We have Apollo and Blah, which are both melee characters. A little harder to kind of get free chip damage on top of towers, whereas we have 3 ranged here from boss. So they're really taking a big use of that effect here early and trying to get as much structure damage as they can.
Not only structure damage, but all that zoning ability coming out of the Scree, the Ted, and the Clunk. Like you mentioned, lots of long-range characters. Oh, they're going to go in for the explode. It's going to end up hitting Paolo. Paolo's going to have to run away. And now Blah maybe in a rough spot. He tornadoes. He's not going to get chased down. So Team Boom not going to suffer any deaths. But like we were just saying, there's a lot of long range. They're able to zone incredibly effectively. They don't have to get kills. They just have to keep sending them home. Oh. Bad Joe going to get sniped, though. Kaio going to pick up another kill, so that's going to be 3-3 for them.
That was a miscalculation on Bad Joe. He put up that totem on top of the jump pad there so that you could stop people from coming through. It didn't stop.
No, it didn't. And Paolo also getting killed off there, or getting the kill off on Cannoli, I should say. So that's going to be 4-3 now in favor of the red team. So Team Boom taking the lead in terms of kills. But they still need to do tower damage, and that is something that Scoop not very good at. Froggy not very good at until much later. And Kaio also not very good at it until later in the game when she gets blaster. Out comes the snipe. The snipe's not. Oh, it's going to end up hitting Kirby Derby for 550 damage, but she takes a ton of machine gun damage in return. Now Blah in a really rough spot. He gets caught out by the totem, unable to jump up or dash up. That's going to stop that dash. So that's going to be the end of that. And the bottom turret now going down. Kirby Derby getting off those machine gun bullets. 4-4, 8 minutes into this game. Boss taking a commanding lead in terms of objectives. Kills fairly even. But on top of that, Piggy Bank not proving to be as useful as Team Boom would have hoped, it seems. Yeah,
that next double kill coming out from Boom was really good. That actually put them on the board. Gave them a good amount of gave them a good amount of confidence in terms of able to be pushed. And to their credit, they did push down that bottom blue down to half. But at the same time, like, playing it safe was what All Stars did. And unfortunately, like, I'm not too sure we can actually extend that kind of courtesy here to Boom, because they need to get that tower damage up, but that also means that they extend far, and as you saw, they die just like right there. They die. Another double for Boss. That was just a sweet combo.
It's difficult for Boom to go in right now and be aggressive in these situations. We mentioned the zoning before. Anytime that the red team, that Team Boom, tries to go in, they take a lot of damage coming into these situations. They can do, and Boom can do precious little until they're close up and in the blue team's face. Blue team, realizing this, can just stand their ground and wait for the red team to try to come to them. They can play it safe in return, and the red team, they have to play aggressive, but they can't without taking a lot of damage and dying for it. So
this machine gun coming in, man. Oh, what an airstrike, but we had the Blah dash ready to go with that invulnerability frame. Again, you put out creeps, you put out totems, you put anything in front of these guys, and they will start shredding those towers, and that is exactly what we're seeing time and again here from Cannoli, from Curb Derb, from the triple-ranged comp. It's something to be said. Early game, if you got that range, you just sit back and you can take these towers if you are relatively uncontested, and when you make those situations where you're going to be uncontested, you're going to have a good early game.
Yeah, you can make it a much less of a contest as well if you can just make sure that anybody that comes too close to you ends up biting the bullet before they get to you, or almost biting it by the time they get there. Oh, out comes the Solar Boss Spit. Cannoli going to take a little bit of it, but he's going to be fine.
He's Cannoli.
Yeah, he's Cannoli, so whatever. No big deal.
Look at this block. See, that is a block.
Yeah. Bad Joe doing a really good job with those totems, too. Like, he's been using it to get kills, to help push turrets. Very good creative use out of an ability
good zone right here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's Solar Boss proving to be a menace to
Yeah,
anybody
but
trying to get too close to there.
See how
as well.
space created. Curb got another 2 bars off this tower.
Right now, Boss is just really cementing a lead and going with it as much as possible. They have so much damage. Triple machine gun damage upgrade coupled with triple saw blade and the left click coming out on Scree as well. These 650 damage snipes just not doing enough. Cannoli coming in with the explode. It's going to end up hitting Blah. Blah's going to end up going down to a couple of machine gun shots. He'll die, but Bad Joe getting picked off on the back end due to Paolo. And wow, Kirby Derby getting picked off as well. Now it's just Cannoli trying to run away from Kaio and Paolo.
Oh, wow.
Paolo is going to try to body block as best as he can, but you can't do that much when you're next to the opponent tower. So now the red team getting a 2-for-1 trade. That was something that they desperately needed in order to just show that they could do something. They're going to try to get some push, make some space for the rest of their, for the rest of the team. They're going to try to get some kills. Wow, Cannoli almost going down to that well-placed snipe. Had there been one more damage upgrade on there, that might have been enough. But now everybody coming back. The blue team going to have to try to defend as best as they can. They're going to succeed in defending at least one of these 2 turrets, but we'll see if they can defend against both. Paolo just doing as much as he can in terms of this turret. And yeah, it's going to be enough. He's made space, but he might end up getting picked off on the back end. That 750 damage explode going to get that pick off. Now 69 in favor of Boss.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, we can't really extend the common courtesy here of just saying, play it safe. You know, you got that solar advantage because Boom is playing from behind. And Paulo tanked out a lot of the turret shots there with his own hit point bar just to try to keep that creep wave alive. Mission accomplished. They got the tower, but then in came Cannoli, and you know, he already had one escape route blocked off by the totem, which meant that, yeah, he drops. And, you know, it's unfortunate, but hey, he'll respawn. The tower won't. It's more Solar in the pockets of his teammates, and Solar is really what they need in terms of bringing this back to par.
Wow, yeah, and they do need the Solar, but that was a really good play out of Kaio.
That's a hamburger phone.
Yeah, that's a hamburger phone. We've seen that on Mr. Fridge before.
Yeah,
if you remember way back, he loved that build so much. Kirby Derby going for the more traditional kind of build, but picked up hamburger phone anyway. So I wonder if that's more for the clunk for when the clunk initiates.
Yeah.
Than anything else.
That's
and
kind of what I'm
speaking of
going
which,
with.
explode going downstairs. Kaio going to take it, but going to snipe in return. Cannoli going to just shrug it off. He's a
full
clunk. He
snipe
doesn't care.
there.
Yeah, it is a full snipe damage now, though. So that time rift is going to be the next thing to be built up. Kaio just barely surviving that particular airstrike. Out comes the snipe. Stim pack being used by Kirby Derby, but it's not going to end up being very useful in this case. So, yeah, teams kind of bouncing off of one another. 13 minutes into this game, 6-8 in favor of Team Boss, but by no means is Boom out of this yet.
Nope.
They're showing a lot of signs of life. They have good upgrades coming out. They've got dash damage for their frog. They got full-on snipe damage, and their scoop. Going for the snare duration and the damage, going for the quality on the hammer rather than the quantity, so no cooldown upgrades coming out for him.
That's a quality hammer.
Yes, it is a quality hammer, made out of fine steel and, I don't know,
The
lots
tears
of
of your
pain.
enemies.
The tears of his enemies, and speaking of which, the tears of that tower, as it takes half
My
of its
gosh.
life points in the matter of a couple of seconds. That was painful.
Well, look, Cannoli doesn't even actually have auto attack upgrades, does he?
No, he does. He's got the missile salvo. He's got He's got all the basic missile damage now. That's the 400 damage salvo pack. A really strong left click upgrade for him. In fact, it's probably the most important upgrade for Clunk's left click out of the bunch. But yeah, that's going to be him. He's also got 1 rank in explode damage and 1 rank in snare. So he's kind of an all-rounded Clunk. Kaio now taking a bunch of damage. He's going to end up just dodging that explode and the saw blade. But Blah, not so lucky. He's going to end up eating 1 or 2 of those saw blades and then eating a left click. Kirby Derby going to get the kill onto Kaio with the airstrike.
Oh, is that
so
what
that's going to be a
happened?
2
All
for nothing pickoff for the blue team. Team Boss looking really strong right now in this game, 14 minutes in.
I guess I'm just used to seeing Clunks, you know, with the double missile with the size upgrades. So taking a quick look at them, didn't quite recognize those ones. But I feel a little bit better that a base Clunk is actually not doing that kind of damage, and it is in fact those upgraded auto attacks. As I said, you put a droid in front of them, they will take your towers to town, and it doesn't really matter how many kills you put on the board. Whoever takes the core is going to be declared the victor. And now with this pressure that they themselves have created with after that again double kill, they are putting core damage now on the board in terms of what? That was 4 or 5.
About a third of its HP
My goodness.
completely annihilated.
Absolutely.
And there's only like a little bit less than a quarter on this top turret. Although the kills don't tell like it's a very one-sided story. It is very much in control of Boss right now, as they have taken practically every objective or dealt damage to everything.
Kills, solar bosses.
Yeah, exactly. And now they're picking up lots of items. Scree finishing off his left click, and now the explode on Cannoli. But on top of that, wow, yeah, you were just pointing out those droid kills.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So you said, the kills aren't the entire story, which is true. You can't really base a game entirely off of kills. But at the same time, yeah, droid kills coming in, those solar bosses, there goes the last of the turret. The global solar is immense at this point.
Oh, absolutely. Despite those picky banks, we've got 1800, 1900, 1900 coming out on the blue team. The red team is sporting 1400, 1400, and 1700 solar. That is a difference of a lot.
It's interesting that the scoop is actually leading that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And the scoop now going to actually end up surviving, dodging that hammer. Blah going to take out Cannoli, so that's going to be a nice pickup. Akayo taking a lot of damage on the back end from the machine gun Ted. Kirby Derby just barely managing to pick up that kill with those long-range super bullets. Blah now maybe in a position to try to do some serious damage to Kirby Derby. But Kirby Derby going to run away with that stim pack, which has move speed increase on him. Yep. So he's actually going to be a little bit more difficult to catch. He's also got boots, so he's the most mobile Ted I've seen since this Awesome Cup even started. Like, this is impressive to see.
Now, Mr. Fridge absolutely loved hamburger phones, and he also went with double airstrikes. Not seeing double airstrikes this time. We're seeing a little bit more of a machine gun and stim pack. And Palo, he just gets body blocked out. I mean, we had a saw blade up with that totem. Kirby was just able to take it with those machine guns. In fact, they're almost going to take Blah on the top of that. And again, and Bad Joe with another fantastic totem blocks out the snipe, and they're just going right back to the score.
Yeah, Scree, an excellent pick against the Raylan.
Yep.
Although I have a feeling that the Raylan was picked last and the Scree was picked second, so that might have been
we saw the draft.
Yeah, and no, that was the draft.
Yeah.
Scree was picked like second for the team, and Raylan was picked last. So that was unfortunately a drafting mistake in this case. And Scree and the rest of his team going to take victory in a very commanding fashion. 17 minutes into this game. Boss going to win this best of 3 in a 2-0 series.
And that's our second 2-0 now with our second victor, which means that Boss will move on. But it's not out for Boom because it is double elimination. They will play again tomorrow in the lower bracket to really fight for their tournament life. But, two different style of games we've seen. The first game's a little bit longer, average about 26 minutes, a lot of kills, very slow and steady. Boss coming in here, their longest game was 17 minutes. And they just steamrolled towers, kills, a lot of double kills.
With various strategies, too. The first one providing very burst-heavy with the Penny, the Vinny, and a burst-centric scoop.
Yep.
And then in this game, they decided that, you know what, we're on Ribbit, we know how to push. Let's go ahead and use that middle bouncer area to our advantage. Right. We'll cement it with the Clunk pick and the Ted pick, and then we're going to push with all 3 of them. And they had a lot of long-range zoning capabilities against Boom, who really needed to get close to do anything, and they took too much damage getting into it. They took they couldn't get a foothold, and so they just started to fall behind very slowly yet again, and then the boss train just picked up steam and kept on going.
The boss train.
Yeah,
it's
all about that boss.
It was a good train to actually get onto. If you definitely had a ticket, you could ride it to victory. And if you guys are voting for them in Reddit, again, very strong performance for them. Although I do hear 99 Cent is kind of the runaway lead on that one. So we'll have to see if those hype trains actually equalize a bit later. Speaking of, we still have 2 more best of 3s for our quarters. 99 Cent yet to play. Ape, LAG, and Ion.
Yep. And all 4 of those are exceptional teams. We've seen Ion in previous tournaments get to the very finals, like the grand finals of tournaments before, so they're very good. Ape going, Ape in their games just barely managed to do.
Fantastic games, too.
Yeah, they were great games. Coming from behind, they are the comeback kings as far as we could tell. And then we've got, like we said, 99 Cents. They're a runaway. And Lag, another one of those newcomers that we didn't see coming. Well, that we didn't see coming, go figure. But that just ended up doing very well in their games and coming out on top.
They did.
So we're going to go ahead and see what's in the next game. Who